Hello and welcome. Today we are going to start the second part of this chapter, the portrait of a lady. In the first part, we have already studied about the appearance of the grandmother and even the appearance of the grandfather in the portrait. Grandmother actually and grandfather in the portrait that was hung in the drawing room. And we even discussed about the relationship of the grandmother and Chouhan Singh, the author, while they were in the village. How she used to get him ready for the school, how they used to go to the school accompanied by the grandmother. She used to sit there in the temple and read the scriptures, and the grandson would sit there and learn his alphabets and all. This is what we have studied. And while they returned to the home, the grandmother would give stale chapatis to the street dogs that would follow them to their house. This is what you have studied. Now the next part. The next part starts with turning point in the relationship. So turning point in the relationship. When the author's parents had settled there well in the city, they called them in the city, and both of them, they went there in the city. This is where there is a turning point in the relationship. Though they shared a common room, but the grandmother could not accompany him to his school. He started going to an English school and he would go by bus. Then there were no street dogs at all. She started feeding the sparrows in the veranda of her house. The next is teachings at the school, teachings at the English school. Teachings at the English school, or we can say city school. So the author used to go to an English school, and when he would return, his grandmother would ask him about his studies, and he would say that he has been given, or he is being given lessons in English, and he learns Archimedes' principles, then Newton's law, and the earth being round. So all these scientific terminology and English words were out of the reach of the grandmother, and she could not help him in his studies. Later on, when he announced that he is being given music lessons, then she was distressed that this music is only meant for harlots and beggars, not for gentlefolk. Later on, she even got to know that there are no God teachings about God and scriptures. So she was depressed and distressed about the teachings at that city school. The next is change in the common link. So as the author went to the university, he had his own room. The common link of sharing the same room with the grandmother had been snapped. Now she became more private and started spending her time in solitude. Okay, and she used to recite her prayers very silently and would sit at the spinning wheel from sunrise to sunset and spend her time there. The next point is feeding of the sparrows there in the city house. So feeding of sparrows. So since there were no street dogs, so in the afternoon the grandmother used to feed the sparrows in the veranda, breaking the bread into small pieces. She would feed hundreds of birds. The birds would gather there in the veranda, and she never shooed them but always smiled. So this was the happiest half an hour for her in the whole day. Later on, the author decided to go abroad for further studies. So she came to the station for his send-off. She was not sentimental at all. So continuously she recited her prayer and she kissed the author on his forehead. Then after 5 years, when he returned from abroad, she was still present there. The author thought that she would die. She was aged. So he thought that she would die. But she was still there as usual, as same as he had left her 5 years ago. She had not changed at all. The next is the end of the grandmother's life. This is the last one actually. End of grandmother's life. So one day she didn't recite her prayer, but instead what she did was she collected the neighborhood women, brought a drum and started beating, started singing about the returning of the warriors or homecoming of the warriors after the war. She started singing. So just she sang continuously for long hours. So the next day she became ill and she was having mild fever. So the doctor said that there is nothing to worry about, but she was sure that her time is over, means she is about to die. So later on, when the family members, they were too much worried, she did not want to waste even a single minute of her life, okay, in talking with the family members. She just wanted to sit and pray for betterment of everyone. And she was too much depressed also. Everything she had seen in her life. So at last she died. As the family members prepared for the funeral, thousands of sparrows gathered in the veranda, and they were quiet, as if they were mourning at the death of the grandmother. Okay, so this is where the chapter ends.